case Jesse.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome. Whether you're here live in body, your spirit is welcome here. Whether you're online or watching recording, your soul is welcome here. So thank you for coming out on this rainy day, everybody. It's just nice to have bodies here. Thank you, Phyllis. That was wonderful. We're going to, you can stand or sit as you want to sing a song. We're going to sing I Claim a Blessing.
In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. This is how I start the day, knowing good is on the way. I am Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. With conviction undeterred, power of the spoken word, take my life and redefine, break the shackles of my mind. In the morning when I get out of bed, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. Before I even lift my head, I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I claim a blessing. I lift my thoughts to higher ground, knowing miracles are all around. Each day unfolds just as it should. When I'm focusing on my good, life is filled with opportunity. I wonder what good will happen for me. Ooh, I claim a blessing. Ooh, I claim a blessing. Ooh, I claim a blessing. Ooh, I claim a blessing.
All right, you guys can be seated. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Phyllis. So welcome in here, settle down, just breathe and arrive. It was kind of an exciting drive coming in the rain. And I invite you all to join me in our vision statement. And so we can all repeat this together. We are a heart-centered community seeking spiritual awakening and transformation by deepening our connections with God, self, and others. Very, very good. Okay. Now we'll have a song that Ginger Curry did.
Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, sing I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love lifts us high, sets us free. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, sing I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love lifts us high, sets us free. Sets us free. From all lack or limitation, sets us free. To realize who we can be. We are made in the image and the likeness of God. Spirit calls, so stand up and believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, sing I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love lifts us high, sets us free. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, sing I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love lifts us high, sets us free. Lifts us high and sets us free. Lifts us high and sets us free.
All right, thank you guys. We all feel energized now. We're going to have our mystic moment, and Tana McElhinney is going to do this for us.
Well, this will be the last mystic change moment before our new spiritual leader begins. How open are we to this change? Remember that darn book I've been talking about? Guy says it's a year to live is the name of the book. And he suggests we practice dying while we're still alive. How can we practice dying while we're still alive? We will be dying to, or we will be releasing the things that have been here at Unity for the past 2 years. What are we willing to release, you and I? Joni?
Lack of limitation thinking.
Good job. Ron?
I'd like to swap fear for excitement.
Thank you, I like that one. Lynn?
I'd like to leave the past behind, both personally and collectively. And I also
Great.
What about you, Tana?
Well, my walking partner is a Unity of Bloomington's board president, so I've had a direct connection with the goings-on at Unity of Bloomington. Now there's going to be another layer of leadership that I'll have to work with. So my job will be to build a new and trusting relationship with Reverend Manasseh. I will be releasing what has been, and I believe I will continue to be walking. Thank you all.
Thanks, Donna. We're going to have a musical inspiration with Ron. It's going to Live Like You Were Dying.
He said, I was in my early 40s with a lot of life before me when a moment came that stopped me on a dime. I spent most of the next days looking at the x-rays, talking about the options and talking about sweet times. I asked him when it sank in that this might really be the real end. How'd you do it when you get that kind of news? Man, what'd you do? And he said, I went skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu, and I loved deeper and I spoke sweeter and I gave forgiveness I'd been denying. And he said, someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying. He said I was finally the husband that most of the time I wasn't. I became a friend that friend would like to have. All of a sudden going fishing wasn't such an imposition, and I went 3 times the year I lost my dad. Well, I finally read the good book and I took a good long hard look at what I'd do if I could do it all again. And then I went skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu, and I loved deeper and I spoke sweeter and I gave forgiveness I'd been denying. And he said, someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying, like tomorrow was a gift and you've got eternity to think about what you do with it. What would you do with it? What can I do with it? What would I do with it? Skydiving, I went Rocky Mountain climbing, I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu, and I loved deeper and I spoke sweeter and I watched an eagle as it was flying. And he said, someday I hope you get the chance to live like you were dying, to live like you were dying, to live like you were dying.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Phyllis. That was awesome. That's so cool. It kind of reminds me, my mother was in a nursing home in Lafayette, and I used to have to drive up every third week was my turn. I had two sisters. We rotate who went to Lafayette to see if she needed laundry or test. I hated the drive. I hated 37, I hated 465, I hated 60. And then I found if I went to Spencer and took 231, it was slower, maybe 10 minutes more. I saw birds. So I call it the zen of driving. You know, I thought the other way, I may not live to get there, so I might as well enjoy the drive while I'm going moment by moment. Yeah, so that's a good memory you brought up. I would love to introduce Richard Brendan. We kind of have a Lafayette connection. Matt, I was born there and he went to school there. Reverend Richard Brendan has brought love, life as a minister, counselor, hospice chaplain, radio host, and producer for Journey's Fire with Richard Brendan on WICR for over 20 years. As president of Journey's Fire International, he brought Deepak Chopra, Michael Beckwith, Andrew Harvey, and Julia Butterfly Hill and Ocean Robbins to Indianapolis. Reverend Brendan is a life member of the Dead Poets Society. Please join me in a warm welcome.
It's really a joy to be here, and what an auspicious time as well, because this faith community is beginning a new chapter with an amazing new pastor. I'm excited for all of you. Glad to see you two here. Yeah, I've watched your video when you taught here. So, last time I was here, there wasn't a roundabout, so there's been a lot of changes. Phyllis and I go way back in New Thought days, Unity of India days, a couple of religious science churches I would teach at back in the day. But it is a small world. I'm never surprised by that. And this is my favorite topic. Amongst all the things that I've done, I quietly have served in hospice for over 20 years. This will be my last year of doing that. I figure that's enough in nursing homes and death and dying. But it's taught me so much about life and love. So I want to share a few quotes to get started here. Shortly after the famous psychologist Abraham Maslow suffered a near fatal heart attack, he wrote a letter. In the letter, he said, "The confrontation with death and the reprieve from it makes everything look so precious, so sacred, so beautiful, that I feel more strongly than ever the impulse to love it, to embrace it, and to let myself be overwhelmed by it. My river has never looked so beautiful. Death and its ever-present possibility makes love, passionate love, more possible." And then astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson said, "It is the knowledge that I'm going to die that creates the focus that I bring to being alive, the urgency of accomplishment, the need to express love now, not later." And then finally, one of my favorite books, The Untethered Soul, Michael Singer writes, "It is truly a great cosmic paradox that one of the best teachers in all of life turns out to be death. No person or situation could ever teach you as much as death has to teach you. Learn to live as though you're facing death at all times, and you'll become bolder and more open. If you live fully," he writes, "you won't have any last wishes." So over the years, as not only a pastor, hospice chaplain, but also a human being, I mean, isn't it true the older we get, the more people we seem to lose? My mom has often told me that, and I think she's right. But I've come to this knowledge. Love calls you to make death your constant companion, because the awareness of death helps you heal old wounds. It refines your purpose, and you lead a fearless and authentic life. And my greatest teachers have been not the ones who write the best-selling books over the years. I have learned more about life and death from those precious souls who are facing their own mortality backed up by a doctor saying, I'm afraid you have 6 months or less to live. And that's a wide range of ages too. But I was smart enough to start learning from them. Once they got that wake-up call and they worked through the fear and they worked through the anger and they worked through all those normal emotions that can come up, what did they say? What did they do? See, dying people give out a sort of darshan that we talk about in Indian, Hindu, that little bits of sweetness and candy the guru tosses out. And as a student, you take that candy and you digest it, and it's kind of woven into the fabric of your life. Dying people have our attention because they're dying. And sometimes they might say something, or they might see something that you'll take with you, hide it in your heart, and weave it into the thread of your life. Now, an example of that, and if you're old enough to remember the show ER, was one of the scenes that I still get emotional when I go onto YouTube, and this is where this clip came from to watch it. Yeah, ER launched George Clooney, whatever. But Dr. Mark Green was my favorite doctor, and he came down with a brain tumor and got married, and they had a baby. He had a daughter from another wife. And so this scene starts with they're in Hawaii. He has his last days. And we'll just start with that clip right now.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just dreaming about you
You were?
when you used to love balloons. You remember how much you loved balloons?
No.
I used to buy them for you. And right when I handed them to you, you let them go. Drive your mother crazy. Sit with me. Sit. I was trying to figure out what I should have already told you, but I never have. Something important. Something every father should impart to his daughter. Finally got it. Generosity. Be generous with your time, with your love, with your life.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Rachel. I'm so tired.
It's okay.
Don't cry for me.
I won't.
Generous. Always.
I will. Daddy? I remember the lullaby. I remember you used to sing it to me every night. I remember.
top, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dream that you did too, oh why can't I?
Oftentimes, as a kind of a practice, I'll write a little story sometimes after one of my patients has passed away. An insight I get, I hope to put it in a book sometime. I posted it on Facebook, and this was one of the posts that I've made. On this quiet morning, this was a reflection I made. On this quiet morning, I was reflecting on how love is the one constant thread woven through this precious and fragile life. I attended 2 deaths last week and witnessed the deep grief that unfolds for the families. In the last year, my dad, my dog, and my spiritual director have passed. And now a young cat has adopted me. My young granddaughter was healed of cancer, and my mom's mind at 90 is still sharp. Sunrise, sunset, swiftly flow the days. The sweet circle of life. And now looking back on my life, embracing the successes and learning from the mistakes, I've come to know that sharing the words of love is important, but living in love is everything. And that is so true. Here's a story from one of my many patients. I just picked one from the file. Earlier today, I had the honor of officiating the funeral of an 87-year-old woman who made her transition on October 27th. For almost a year, I would visit with her, often holding her hand and reading poetry to her. And when I would sing to her, she would laugh and try to sing along with me. My attempt at the Sinatra song, Fly Me to the Moon, was her favorite. That was also my dad's favorite. She was unable to speak words, but her smile and her eyes said everything. She's flying now and perhaps even dancing with Sinatra. The following words from John O'Donohue have really touched my heart, and he writes, "We should not allow ourselves to settle for being awkward and unsure around a deathbed. There is vital and beautiful work to be done there. When you realize that the dying person needs and depends on your words and presence, it takes the focus off your limitation and frees you to become a creative companion on that new journey. One of the most beautiful gifts you could ever give is a gift of helping someone to die with dignity, graciousness, and serenity." Now, I've learned from my Buddhist friends about death meditation, and I've been practicing that a little bit every day for a long time, to the point where 2 months ago, because I needed more ink on my body, I went to this really cool tattoo shop in Franklin called the Rue Morgue. It's very dark and cool inside. But I had this on my arm because I never wanted to forget this. So what I had, because I wanted to make it classy, so it had to be in Latin. Memento mori et carpe diem. Remember your death and seize the day. And I got to tell you, when I go through my day, and maybe there's some worry, maybe there might be a little anxiety, maybe another semi-truck tried to run me off the highway, I got my arm to remind me, remember my death. I could die today, which I learned from Wayne Muller. And I say that to myself every day. I say it playfully, as a little affirmation, I could die today. Because we could. Because none of us know when our time is. That's the beautiful thing about death. We don't know. And if we're smart enough to embrace death, we've brought mediumship out of the closet decades ago. We still try to hide the topic of death in that closet. People still aren't comfortable with it because death really is our companion. Death is our friend. Life and death are part of the same coin. And death often whispers in your ear, pay attention. This is your life. How do you want to live it? I've had some teachers in my life to come in. I've often said Bloomington's my home away from home. I eventually think I'm going to be down here. I used to make so many trips down here. And I've collaborated with several beautiful souls from Bloomington, ironically, who have all passed. Don't let that hold you back from collaborating with me sometime. I just now thought about that. Okay. First one I talk just briefly is Lisa Morrison. I don't know if any of you who knew Lisa was. There's a photo of her with me in the studio at WICR. And I met Lisa when I called, I wanted to profile Tibetan Cultural Center. It's one of my favorite places to go and hang out. And Lisa at the time was volunteering her time as a PR director, as a friend to Norbu, who was the brother of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Lisa had made her career, I didn't know at the time, in radio. She was a morning person for WTTS. She then later had a Roots Diner syndicated radio show, but she was also good at PR. And so as her service, she was the PR person for the Tibetan Cultural Center. So she came on the show, did the interview. We instantly connected as friends. And what I learned from Lisa was generosity. Same word that Dr. Mark Green shared with his daughter. Because Lisa was generous with her time. She was generous with her talents, and everybody who knew her knew that. And so she wanted to help me grow the radio show. So we would have constant luncheons and coffees up in Indy. She'd be in the radio station helping me. I'd always come down here, and we always meet at our hangout, the Uptown Cafe. We had that same booth. When I told her I wanted a new mala, she said, oh, you're in luck. There's some monks coming from India, and they're bringing a whole bin of malas they just made. You can come down and pick one out. I said, really? Cool. So I went down there the next day, and there's all these beautiful monks. Only one speaks English, and they're all staring at me. I felt pressure. Like, I got to choose one? Is it got to be the right one? And they're all, like, leaning in. So I see a green one, and I pick out the green one. And, Green Tara, good choice. I said, okay. So I went with Lisa. I had lunch again at the Uptown Cafe, and I took it home. The next week, she said, we're going to meet this coming week, right? I was going to go back down to Bloomington. I said, yeah. And she said, well, I call him the Rinpoche, the head monk. He said he came up to me the next day, and he said, that man who you're with, he picked the wrong mala. This is the right mala. And he handed it to her, and she says, I can't wait to tell you the story. So I felt like a fish grabbing the hook. So I went down there, I'm sitting across from her in the booth, and she's weaving this story, and I'm getting, come on, tell me what it is. So finally, she said, do you want to know what it is? I said, yeah. And I carry this with me all the time in my car and in my bag. This is the mala he picked out. And the mala represented, now he didn't know me. See, shamans, Rinpoches, psychics, they see things. It's impermanence. He didn't know I did work in death and dying. Plus, it's a whole lot more beautiful than the green Tara. And I have cherished this. Cost is probably nothing, but it's one of my most valuable possessions. Because he picked it out, Lisa, my dear friend, gave it to me, and it meant the world to me. So we're making phone calls, make a long story short. Then I get a call and find out that Lisa died in a car wreck here in Bloomington. She was 46 years old. And like always, I sit with it. I shed some tears. But I made a post about her, and this is the post that I made, and these are the words. Remembering my friend Lisa Morrison, who passed away on January 24th, 2016. This photo was taken in February 12th, 2015. Lisa invested some of her time as senior producer for my Journey's Fire radio show. I was honored by that because years earlier she had a very successful radio career at WTTS and her syndicated Roots Diner radio show. More importantly, she was my friend who lived fully, loved deeply, and had a servant's heart for humanity. Lisa never squandered her life. May we all awaken to this precious mystery called life while we have breath. Death will arrive soon enough. And then I quoted the Zen night chant that goes, "Life and death are of supreme importance. Time passes swiftly, and opportunity is lost. Let us awaken. Awaken. Do not squander your life." I ran across this quote that I thought was so cool. It says, "We enter life with an inhale. We exit life with an exhale. And in between, we live for those moments that take your breath away." That often happened when I was with Lisa. I had another friend. I would visit her on I called it the farm oftentimes. We decided to collaborate. We did 4 workshops together on the art of living fully in the light of death. And that's Janice Jaffe. And Janice Jaffe was well known down here as not only a jazz singer, but a sound bowl healer. I believe a lot of times she came here and did that on Sunday. Lisa and I spent a lot of time talking, and we agreed to do workshops together. We did all of them up in Indy. Now the thing with Lisa, you notice that she's sitting lower. I still got that chair that I'm sitting in, so my body was a little stiff. But we had the best time together because what I loved about Lisa is we never rehearsed. It's like, "So Lisa, we haven't talked about this, but what time are you showing up?" She tells me, and I say, "Cool," and she says, "Cool," and then we just do our thing. We just had this beautiful flow. I'd never collaborated with anybody except maybe Kathy Morris, but we had this flow, and she'd speak, she'd sing, the bowls, I'd teach. We just had this beautiful gig. Then she had a car wreck, and she had some health issues, and then she told me they found something going on with her heart, and so I had approached her about maybe doing another workshop. This time maybe we could do it in Bloomington. She told me about she was going to have heart surgery up in Indy, and I had texted her the day she was traveling up for the surgery, and her kids were there, and she said, "Look, this shouldn't be a big deal, and I'm going to need to recover a couple days up in the hospital. How about you come up and visit me? It saves you a trip. We can talk about our workshop, and we'll take it from there." And I said, "Great." And then, like probably many of you, so many people, I got the word later that day that she died in recovery, 63 years old. I mean, really, nobody saw that coming. Docs didn't see it coming. But does anybody ever really see it coming? I learned from Lisa generosity. I learned from Janice creativity. God, she loved creativity, and she loved to bring it out in others. I would watch her do that when people would talk to her after the workshop was done. I experienced it as she encouraged me to be a little more creative in my teaching and speaking and such. She was a genius at that. And not only that, but a very incredible, kind soul. That's what I learned from her. My other Bloomington connection is somebody I started meeting when I used to teach at Unity a lot back in the day, and there was a religious science church back in the day. It's all up in Indianapolis. And she was a beautiful musician, sound healer, Laurel Lane Powell. We made this connection. Then we lost track of each other. Well, the other thing, I didn't put in the bio, I'm kind of a spiritual entrepreneur. So a friend of mine used to own the Vogue nightclub, Steve Ross. He approached me and we said, well, let's create an event. So, okay, we're both inspired by TED Talk, so we created Walk the Talk Speaker Series. And Walk the Talk Speaker Series was like a TED Talk, only we pick a topic, and we put the call out, and we'd pick 6 speakers. Each can speak for 13 minutes on that topic, and then we'd add a confetti gun, a live band, and a light show. And for the first 2 years, it was at the Vogue. But 2 times we had it at the Buskirk Chumley. And one of the topics was happiness, but this one was called Overcoming Fear. That's the one I want to talk about. We did the auditions at that time up in Indy. For happiness, we did some auditions down in Bloomington. But here comes this lady walking in, and I'm thinking to myself, I know her. Lauren? I go, Lauren? Richard. And I didn't really know her story. I thought, Overcoming Fear, well, this will be good. I knew she was a great musician. And we had back-to-back all these auditions coming in. So she quickly shares to Steve and I and the other two people who were, quote, judging the speakers. She said, well, you know, the cancer has come back, and I have decided not to do chemo anymore. And she stopped, and then she said, so I'm dying. Steve and I just looked at each other, instant tears. She gave the most powerful talk about she wanted to die dancing deliciously with death. She was our last speaker that night. We had over 400 people at the Buskirk Chumley. I was always the MC at the events. She was last. She had already told us ahead of time she wasn't sure she could make it, but she's going to try to be there. She was already, the energy level was so low, and we said, you know what? What'll be, what'll be. She did come. You can find this on YouTube, Walk the Talk Speaker Series, and look up her name. She came out on that stage, didn't miss a beat, shared her story very positively, how she wanted to dance with death, playfully, living life fully, and the only way Lauren could do that. But here's what I remember the most. After she was done, and I was really close to coming right out because she looked exhausted. And for about 2 seconds, silence. And then everybody stood up and applauded, and they kept applauding. And she like slumped over. I went out and grabbed her. And I don't think this made the video, but then she leaned in, tears rolling down her face. She was exhausted. And that was one of the most powerful talks I ever heard. And the title was called Holy Shift, I'm Dancing with Death. And I still have her book under that title. She died January 25th, 2019. And her sister, Kristen, about an hour or two later texted me and said, I want you to know that my sister died dancing deliciously with death. And I smiled, and I texted Steve. I'm thinking there was a memorial service here for that, also for her. It's amazing what we can learn from death. I want to close with this. I won't get into the whole story. 2000, June 16th, I was doing hospice. I just started a year earlier. I was leaving Franklin, Indiana, and somewhere between Franklin, Indiana and the Whiteland exit, and it's raining that day, but just a nice summer rain coming down. My car hydroplanes, and I end up in the middle of the highway, I-65. I circle 3 times. All of this is probably milliseconds, but I remember it like it was yesterday. Each time I'm facing south, I see a semi-truck coming. I see 2 or 3 cars coming at me. The 3rd time the car goes there, I take my hands off the wheel, and I either said audibly or in silence, this is it, and I close my eyes. Next thing I know, I'm hearing this rush. Truck couldn't stop. Brakes. My car is off on the side of the road, facing north, engine off. I'm hyperventilating, first and last time I've ever hyperventilated. I hear the rain hitting the roof of my car, and I look in the rearview mirror, and there's 2 cars behind me. They're probably hyperventilating. Wipers are going back and forth, back and forth. I wait for 3 minutes. It's amazing the detail you remember in times like this. I roll the window, I push the button for the window. I kind of go like this. I drive off on the side of the road all the way up to the Greenwood exit. To go to where I was living at the time. And then I just break down. And I'm sitting on the floor, and I'm kind of almost crying, and then I get angry. I said, God, you mean you took me that close to death and you didn't take me? I started this kind of thing. And then I started to calm down. And what happened, and I'll just cut to the chase here real quick. What happened was I realized I'm alive for something. I wonder what that is. And so I thought, man, so I walked in the rain. I said, what did you used to do, Richard, when you were younger? I said, I used to love to walk in the rain. And I had my nice little hospice clothes on, which now I wear stuff like this when I see patients. And I walked in the rain for 45 minutes, and I had a Shawshank Redemption before Shawshank came out. And I went like this, and I felt the raindrop hitting my skin. And I wanted to just really experience it in a deep way. I went back. I was cold. I went and took a hot shower. I came out. And I remembered a CD a friend gave me as kind of a gag, but a housewarming gift. I just moved into this new place, and it was an artist I love. It was the best of Donna Summer. So I put on Donna Summer, and I started dancing naked to the music, and I was just feeling alive and alive. And all of a sudden, I sat down and I said, "What next? What next?" I guess I was getting hyper. And I said, I need a communion. So there was a half bottle of Merlot wine, and there was a half-eaten chocolate chip cookie. So I sat down, I had my communion with the chocolate chip cookie and the Merlot wine. And this time I was slowing down, and I was just reflecting like all this stuff that happened like no more than an hour or 2 hours ago. And then I look over to my bookshelf. Some of you might have had this experience. And there was a book literally that was lit up. It was a book I just purchased, but I hadn't read yet. And I took it off the shelf, and I have the original book at home, and I did the thumb thing, and I'm closing with this. This is what I turned to. The book was called How Then Shall We Live? 4 Questions to Reveal Beauty and Meaning in Your Lives by Wayne Muller, still one of my favorite writers. And I turned to the chapter about death. And this is the page I turn to. With so little time left, there is none to waste. Childhood trauma seems less compelling. Money seems useful for daily needs, but greed seems silly. What can we really keep? Unproductive relationships are let go, and intricate career maneuvering seem wasteful, even comical. For those close to death, it becomes instantly clear that everything they do in their remaining days is precious. Every conversation, every action, every choice is pregnant with meaning and value. Only those relationships that are fruitful and loving are kept. The rest are allowed to fall away. Every act is a sacrament. Every breath, a gift. Nothing is taken for granted, nothing wasted. What kind of life will we have? A human birth is a breathtaking gift. This singular life is a pearl of great price. How will we use this precious time? Sloppily careening from one day to the next, getting things done, checking off lists, buttressing our lives against trouble as best we can until we die weary and wondering whether we were ever awake, ever truly alive at all, or shall we live not by accident, but on purpose, naming clearly and courageously those things we cherish, creating a life of beauty and love? Will we walk on the earth gently? Will we care for our children with understanding and wisdom? Will we seek out beauty and give thanks for it? Will we be generous with our talents for the good of all? Will we be patient and thoughtful with others? Will we be courageous in speaking what we know to be true? Will we be awake and alive? And will we leave a legacy of kindness? Knowing we will die, how shall we live? And I'll leave that question to all of you. Blessed be.
Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Now we'll have a time of meditation. I decided to do something a little different here. Part of the meditation will be some words I'll be sharing. Before we get into that, though, if you get into a comfortable place, if you haven't already, and close your eyes and continue to keep your hearts open, and on a 2 or 3 count, take a deep breath and hold it on a 2 or 3 count, and then exhale. Do that for just a few times. That sweet, beautiful rhythm of breath. And the words I want to share with you have never been published. But they were words from one of my favorite teachers, Dr. Leo Buscaglia. I'm thinking I did one of the last radio interviews with him before he died in 1998. Wrote a lot of books on love. But listen to these words. Let them drop from your head, which is knowledge, into heart, which is illumination. Starting this day, I promise not to try to solve all my life problems at once, nor shall I expect you to do so. Starting this day, I shall try to learn something new about me and about you and about the world I live in, so that I may continue to experience all things as if they've been newly born. Starting this day, I shall remember to communicate my joy as well as my despair, so that we can know each other better. Starting this day, I shall remind myself to really listen to you and try to hear your point of view and discover the least threatening way of giving you mine, remembering that we're both growing and changing in 100 different ways. Starting this day, I shall remind myself that I'm a human being and not demand perfection of you until I'm perfect. Starting each day, I shall strive to be more aware of the beautiful things in the world, flowers, children, cool breezes, great food. Starting each day, I shall reach out and touch you gently with my words and with my eyes and with my hands, because I don't want to miss feeling you. Starting this day, I shall dedicate myself again to the process of being a lover, and then see what happens. Love is life. And if you miss love, you miss life. Please don't. Now take another deep inhale. Hold it and exhale.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
Thank you all. That was a wonderful message and a really, really nice song, too. Thank you, guys. We're going to prepare for offering to show our gratitude for all that we continue to receive. There are several ways to contribute to Unity. Checks and cash are always welcome. There is a text to give button on the screen or a donate button on the website. As the offering bags are passed, you may want to bless the offering so our abundance can grow. Just place your hand over it and wish it well. If you are new to Unity, please, in the seat in front of you, there is a blue visitors form. We love new impressions. It helps us. They're in the pocket in front of you, on the chair in front of you. With your first impressions, we'd really appreciate it. There's also a prayer request form in that pouch there. If you want us to give prayers for someone here or beyond, you can fill that out and put all these in the offering bag as it comes around. Just drop them in. So I would like you to please join me in speaking our abundance affirmation while the greeters come forward. I am an abundant being in an abundant universe. I am not dependent on people or situations for my good. God is the source of my supply. I always have something to give, and I consistently give it. I expect the best, I give my best, and I now attract the best in every situation.
I am complete, I am whole, expressing the divine as I travel down the road. I am complete, I am whole, I celebrate the journey of life. I am complete, I am whole, expressing the divine as I travel down the road. I am complete, I am whole, I celebrate the journey of life. Standing in the dark or dancing in the light, whether I'm confused or filled with insight, I am always whole, I am complete, just like a mighty oak that's contained in a seed. I am complete, I am whole, expressing the divine as I travel down the road. I am complete, I am whole, I celebrate the journey of life. I celebrate the journey of life. I celebrate the journey of life.
I'd like the greeters to come forward on that. And I would love for us all to repeat our saying, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. There's some announcements. Reverend Manasseh Gaban has moved to Bloomington. Her stuff arrived yesterday. And I would like to thank all the people that showed up to help her to move. Can you raise your hands so we can see? Thank you so, so much for helping. Yay. Welcome, Manasseh. So next Sunday, Reverend Manasseh is going to give our message. And after the service, there'll be a dessert reception. So please come, bring a goodie, and plan on staying and visiting, and just stay a little late. Just bring your favorite goodie and join. I want to thank all who helped her move. And I would like you all to join me with our prayer for protection, which is the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we go, God is, and all is well. So would you all join in a big circle and we'll sing Let There Be Peace on Earth.